This is Naoki Yoshida.
This is Fern Hall.
And you are listening to Aetheryte Radio.
Aetheryte Radio.
Here we go.
Hello and welcome to Aetheryte Radio, Gamerscape's Final Fantasy XIV podcast. I'm FusionX. Joining me today, we have a full house plus one. We've got Zenidra, we've got Aldino, we've got Bryn, and we've got, joining us for the first time, Avalonstar.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to the show, you and everybody else.
So we made the we've got the new screen for Shadowbringers. We got the new logo. We revamped a little bit. So we don't have an actual intro animation yet. That's why it was just a static screen. So we'll at some point fix that. Even though we still have like the underwater bubble sound and stuff. We'll fix it. We'll get to it. We've been busy. We've been occupied playing the expansion. So today is our big review show. Avalonstar is our guest reviewer for the expansion. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for helping us with this.
Thank you for having me.
Before we get started on that, though, real quick, last month was the 10th anniversary for Gamerscape, and we said we were going to do some giveaways for that. And so those are now live. So make sure to go check that out on the front page. We are giving away a Shadowbringers Collector's Edition. Winner will be able to choose from PC and PS4. And then we're also running another giveaway where you can win, grand prize is a FanFest backpack, which includes all the FanFest stuff. So you get the pins, the magnet, the pen,
Coasters.
and the coasters. These coasters are so... I love the coasters.
They're great.
I'm still using these coasters. They're amazing. I've never wanted to take such pristine care of a coaster before. I'm like this looks dirty. I want to make, these got to last. I don't want to... Also, with that, you'll get an autographed copy of Chronicles of Light. We had Yoshida sign a couple of those out at the media tour. So you'll get that. And then you'll also get a mouse and mouse pad set. We've got two. I think the first one we're giving away is the Namazu one. So check that out. All the details on the blog post. And then, of course, runners-up from that will receive one of... we have 4 different plushies for that contest. And then we'll be running another contest in August for the 10th anniversary of this show, because we're old. And so we'll have similar things for that as well. So keep an eye out on that. We might also have some time cards we give away between now and then, too. We're working on the details yet. But big shout out to Square Enix for helping us with those and giving us some of those prizes to give away. So make sure to enter Wednesday night. I believe is the deadline for that. So if you want to win some cool stuff, Wednesday night. There you go.
Podcast just gets better looking with age. That's how I'm just having yeah.
So this is our first show since Shadowbringers. The last one was at E3. I wasn't on it. I was dead tired after E3. But we had our interview. We had a lot of positive feedback about that too. So thank you for everybody that commented on that.
It was really awesome to break the interview. No one's read this yet.
That's what it was. It's, I'm just like, here's the interview you guys haven't seen yet. Talk about it. And you're like, oh, okay. What did he ask? It was good. It was good.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And share server-wide content with the 5.1. Holy crap!
Your reactions specifically, Bryn, were just hilarious to me. You're just like,
it's like you're reading the answer and you're like, oh man.
Well, as it starts to formulate.
I hope they ask about this one thing. Oh, they did.
Exactly. Well, it was a coordinated strike. It was it was candy for and it was so tasty. I read things unfortunately backwards, and I mess things up. Anybody who's known me for any period of time will know this. And so I'm reading, and so then it's like, am I actually reading what I'm reading? Is my brain playing a trick? It's not playing a trick on me. Yes. Anyway,
That's adorable.
Just adorable. He's got a disability.
It's a good start.
It's a great start.
Wow.
Guys, Shadowbringers rocks my effing mind. I'm just gonna. There we go.
You're right over there. Cause you a little harm.
This will be spoiler free. I know it says it on the stream title, but just in case anyone's wondering, spoiler free. We're not going to talk about any spoilers which makes talking about the story a little hard.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the emotional feeling that we got. Like there's definitely that, but not like what happened.
Mhm.
Right. So for those of you who haven't seen a review from us before, which we've only done one. So it's a fair chance you might have missed it. What we're gonna do is we broke this down into 4 categories. The categories are different from a patch review because there's no raid yet, so we can't really. Eden's not here yet, unfortunately. So what we did is we broke it down into 4 categories. We have story, we have audio, battle, which kind of just encompasses any battle content. So dungeons, job changes, trials, battle, right? And then we have the other miscellaneous category with quality of life stuff, whatever else is there that we haven't discussed in those other 3. Each one of us get 5 points to put in each category, and we'll add them up, and we'll see what the score is out of a max of 100. So story first. Who wants to start with story?
5.
I'll happily go. Okay, Michelle.
You're so excited. You're just like, let's go. Yeah.
I'm personally, and also I have heard from every single other person that I played this expansion with, the story this time blew everyone out of the water. A lot of people feel that it is the best story start for an expansion that we have been presented with yet. And I agree.
With that.
Really? Okay. I agree.
The Final Fantasy story that we've gotten in the last maybe 20 years.
I agree with that. Best
People
one.
have been saying this.
So you're like one of me.
Don't insult it for an expansion. Like it is like I'm playing it and I give it a 5.2. I'm playing through it and I'm starting to feel like I'm like hitting level 73 and I'm like, why does this feel? And I think Heaven's Word was by far the best story that they've put together so far. Like, why does it already feel better than that?
Yeah.
Like, why am I sitting here going and saying this feels better than Heaven's Word? And I wasn't expecting that because but it's no secret, I have actually really did not enjoy Stormblood that much. And I was just like, all right, okay. We got through it and it's like, wow. And so I honestly think best Final Fantasy story easily in the last 10 years, maybe in the last 20. I forget when certain games came out.
I think it's better than 10, so I would say 20. That's 20. I mean, that'd be 7 or 8 is 98 or so. So yeah, 20 years. I agree.
There it is.
5. Yep. Best story in 20 years.
Yeah, I gave it a 5, but I mean I'm like around 74 at the moment. So but I completely agree, Bryn, with that. It's like I don't know. The Dragon Song War was my favorite arc. Like that just, and the fact that I'm this early in the game, and I'm just like, this is the way they're telling the story. It just I kept saying this in my videos leading up to this. It's like they just feel like they're free. They're free to tell the story, and it's just like it's so scary good that I'm really scared for what's next, right?
Right.
It's like their shackles are broken, it's their final form, and now they're just playing around with our brains and stuff wrapped around their fingers, and it's just so I mean I've been seeing everybody talk about it like the best Final Fantasy story in the last two plus decades, and I mean it's like the insinuation is scaring me, but at the same time enough people I've seen it like a unanimous thing, so it's like I can't wait to to catch up to you guys.
It was
going through it, I was concerned. I was like, the only way this gets, if it takes a hard left and all of a sudden it's like, okay, but it didn't. It was
exactly.
Michelle, you're about to say something.
Oh, I was just gonna say just about the same thing. Like I'd had misgivings going along, like this is so good, it can't get better. This is so good. They're not gonna be able to tie this up well, and I think they did a pretty good job, even up until the end of what we have so far.
I will. Without spoiling anything, there was the final area, right? Because they never publicly said what that was. There is a scene in the final area where they just give you this kind of landscape shot. It's rare for this game to take my breath away, and I just remember just watching. I was just like, man, like it's just it was so good.
The story actually did that to me early on, and I can't talk about what it is.
Yeah, right.
But there's a thing. There's a thing that characters, not your character, like NPCs, are experiencing for the first time, and if you think about the feelings that they're having at that point in time, it's like freaking misty eyes, man. Like, wow,
Oh
Yeah.
crap!
I've been brought to near tears on pretty much every cutscene, and I'm like, I'm tired of crying already.
It's just
through the game. I don't know. I can't. I have no
Get
more
some
left in
tissue
the game.
and buckle the F
Yeah.
up.
it's the best MMO storytelling ever. Period. The best MMO storytelling.
Yeah.
Well,
And
go ahead, Fusion.
one of the things I wanted to say, because Bryn, you mentioned right when we started here about how people are like, well, it's an expansion, like, you know, it doesn't count. I think something that's important to acknowledge, and I'm not saying that people haven't, but a lot of people are like, this expansion is great, the story is so great. I think that the reason it's so great is because you have 10 years of game
Yes.
that built up
Yeah.
to this. This is like the
Tied
Avengers.
This is
like
the
there's so many throwbacks to everything that we've seen so far, and that's what makes it great. Not just the expansion, it's everything else that came before to establish everything. That's why this is a good story.
In context, because I completely agree. As somebody, as a legacy player, as we've been doing this for a long time, yeah, I felt incredible. I felt like it was a love letter to me,
right.
To me personally. Like it's a screw you guys, like Yoshi P and the so, but in Chris, and who I do work the game with, literally he has skipped all the cutscenes. He did not. He's read
I don't understand these people.
Right.
These are the same people that leave a Marvel movie before the post-credit scene.
But
It's like,
he has dove into this story, and it captured him, and he is blown away. And there was only one moment where he was like, "Who's this person?" Because and so I then explained it to him. But it's like, for also a new player who has not been on that journey, they're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
They're going to have a different. They might have a different emotional impact, but that's still incredible. Like it's still incredible for that.
You know what I really actually realized I was enjoying the other night? MSQ roulette.
Oh, really?
I've gotten both Praetorium and Meridianum, and the reason I enjoy them is because having finished the story up till current, you go back and you get little snippets of stuff that are still relevant and like just boost that story that you just watched and went through.
Yeah.
At some point towards the final zone, I was ahead of my girlfriend, who just sits directly behind me, and there are parts where I'm just exclaiming, and she's like, "Stop! I can't hear." Like, I'm not saying what's happening. Just my reaction to it was too much. Like, because it was just at some point towards the end, to me, I thought, well, they can't possibly be saying all of this. What is next? Like, how do they tell us all this and then continue? And it's going to be so great to find out. Like, that's what I also love about it is, we got a lot of stuff, but there's so much we don't know, and it's great. It feels really good. I had no idea what each plot point would be. Like, usually they're kind of predictable. No, not even a little bit.
There was some stuff that surprised me. But there were a lot of stuff like early MSQ that I'm like, that's probably this, and it totally was. And so later on, you're like, all right, you know, So what did you guys think of the way that they handled job quests this time around?
I really prefer it.
They're much less annoying.
Yeah, I enjoy it just because of the story that they're telling in it, of course, that we can't talk about, and how each role has a different view of it, which is pretty cool. I don't know. For me personally, doing the magical range DPS one, like, I enjoyed it a lot, and I enjoyed what it was about. But like the main character who gives you the quest, I could care less about. Like, I don't know who you are. I don't want to know.
That was my thing. So you have the role quests, right? And so there's an NPC that gives those, and you go and you do that, and there's a story behind it. But I didn't really care for my like quest giver either. And then I went back and I did because each job still has a level 80 job quest, and I did that, and God, did that feel like a budget quest?
Sure. Yeah.
It just like they're like, oh, we need a Dragoon quest. Let's just throw this together, and it's like, man. I want more of this stuff, not the stuff on the first. And so that really kind of irked me, and that's why I'm actually the only one. I gave story a 4 because of there was some of the predictability stuff we talked about, and the way that they kind of condensed these these role quests and stuff. Like I liked the story the role quest tells, even if I'm not crazy about that NPC. I love that there, but then I wish we also had a full job quest, because it's just it felt very much like a cheap afterthought that, you know, the cutscene guy put like 5 minutes of work into. Like, it was really poor for Dragoon.
Stop. I like not having to stop and go and do the quest and then come back to what I was doing. That's why I like it at the end.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, that makes sense.
A comment I will make about the job quest, not the role quest, but the job quest at the end is so for the Bard one, tiny spoiler, not really. You get on an airship at one point. I thought it was a normal airship cutscene, so I skipped it, and that was the entire cutscene. So I skipped the whole quest.
So watch out for that.
So they maybe didn't break that up as well as they should have.
Yeah. So on the Bard one, be very careful.
Yeah, I agree with you, because the capstone summoner quest, I'm like, cool. We're not going to talk about how I can do what I do, right? Yeah, this is like, you go back to your original quest giver and they're like, cool, you look stronger, and it's like, yeah, I really want to talk about that, because I don't know why I'm stronger, but I am. It's cool, right?
The dancer one actually does ask you about it.
Well, that's
they're like, hey bro, where you been? Well, I went to another world.
You know, Dragoon did that as well, which makes me feel even worse about it now, because it's a copy paste template. They're like, all right, you go to the thing, you talk about, hey, I went and did this stuff, what else is new? But it's just
it was part of the Dark Knight one then.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. It might be better. Like the summoner one for me specifically, I'm like, the last time we talked, we were talking about how to summon Bahamut, and there's a very big bird-shaped elephant in the room now.
Right.
And you don't say anything about it? Okay.
Yeah.
It's so weird because they do that, and then like that's a huge missed opportunity to you know, for lore and for everything, and they don't even.
Yes.
It's terrible.
I think it shows that like there's definitely some things that need to happen over the whole course of the game from a redesign process. That these, like, it's great for these stories, but I think the roles functional process is much better. Like when I played, you know, Stormblood, I didn't do the job quests until I had finished whatever. Then I went back and kind of just went through them. And it's like, to Michelle's point, like literally the fact that you do not have to break up until like the final part, which we were warned about, so it wasn't like I wasn't really kind of like thrown off that that's like the objective of the quest is to tell a story. And it's like I really enjoyed that cohesiveness of the system itself, that it wasn't that oh god, you know, it's like, well, let me stop the MSQ. And I think that's one of the things that makes the MSQ so strong. You know?
I didn't warp back to the first for most of the...
I'm never going back
MSQ
to the source.
Staying here forever.
The first forever.
Yeah, it was... I wanted to mention this because it's story related, kind of. So did you guys use the trusts all the way through?
Not all the way through. I did it on a
actually did a trust race through dungeon 1.
Nice.
Dungeon 2, because I have a couple of friends over who came out just to, you know, play with us, like kind of LAN party thing. So we were doing a split screen, and we were like, okay, so I'm a tank, and we had 3 DPS. I'm like, oh, we're at the dungeon. What do we do? And my wife is like, I can level healer. I'm like, or race through it, and we did, and it was interesting. It was really interesting. Like,
yeah, I love what they added, like particularly because of the 2 that I picked. Like, I don't even want to say who, because that's technically a spoiler. So the 2 that I picked, they just had knowledge that was awesome. You know, that when you would get to the next boss, they just say some things, and it's like, oh, well, that's interesting. You know, it just added to the entire.
I wasn't going to do trust for the first dungeon until I saw who I could take in, and I was like, oh, I'm going trust.
I mean, I think who you can take in for the first one is a spoiler, but I mean, we know the other ones.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, the media tour had it. We spoiled it already, right?
That's true.
I think, and this is weird, because trusts are these categories are a little open ended.
Yeah,
you know, it's like story and battle, but like trust is in 3/4 of these categories because it's story based, but it's also battle based. It's also quality of life with the way that you can go in solo dungeons. And I think the way that they had it was good. I think the thing I haven't tried yet, and Yoshida talked about this, I believe it was our interview or one interview, so this isn't really a spoiler. After you finish MSQ, you can then go back and level up the trusts.
Not you have to.
Or you have to.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know to get to do the next set of dungeons, I guess. It sounds like a chore.
it looks like it's going to be, because I was like, oh well, I'll start machinist, and I'm like, well, I got to get to 71 for the first dungeon, and I look at the trusts, and I'm like, oh, that's what they mean. They're level 71 now. They have experience bars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can't take them in the 75 if you wanted to. You have to
Oh
level
God!
them.
Oh, you can't go and replay.
Yep.
That's stupid.
Oh no, I disagree. Give me more things to level.
That's terrible.
I was gonna do it anyway, so I'm like, I'm of two
Content
minds
creation.
about it, but I looked and I was like, I can't be reading that right. That must be because I'm level 70. So I switched to summoner at 80, and it was still 71. So I'm like, okay, cool. I mean,
Weird.
Yeah, they do it after the story so that you can kind of play through the story, etc.
Yeah.
And then the fact is that after the story, it's about getting that grind. It's just giving you something, something to
So
work.
they don't.
It's giving you
don't
something
get
else
any
to
of
do.
the XP while
Yes.
doing the main story.
No.
That seems like a little bit of
Here's my issue with that, right? So it's great going through MSQ, but then to force it on you, like you have to level them up then, and you can't go back and do that stuff. Where's the payoff?
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see when somebody hits it.
I mean,
yeah.
Yoshida had mentioned that maybe the dungeons that come out after MSQ you might be able to do trust with too. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, maybe.
But
that's
to
why.
not be able to go back and do dungeons that you've already done with trust, that's
Yeah.
no.
Well, I mean, they still want people to play with each other. It is an MMO.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, no, and I
guess
get that, but I don't know, it's weird.
If it's in the case of somebody who will be playing solo, who is really going to use the trust, they're probably going to level them up anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish that there was more, I don't know, reward for it. That's about it. But I don't know.
I mean,
Maybe there is.
besides getting a one drop per chest to myself.
Yeah.
For
I would like a title
of
for
stuff
max
that I
level
probably
3.
already have if I've done MSQ.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, even if it's just a title per each, give us a title related to them so you can pick and choose your favorite ones and then have a title. Even a title, small enough, it's good. Have an achievement, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe there is.
Yeah.
I haven't looked. So
That's true. There could be something. I wish it was a little more like, hey, by the way, if you do this, you get this.
yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't really see any reason to go back and do that stuff, especially because the trusts are so slow.
They are. It's interesting and it's more battle type content, but
Sure.
It's weird. They change how much damage they do depending on how much damage you do. I think it's a theory. I don't know. It's interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, just watching them, like they hit like a truck, but they just don't do it
Okay.
very often.
Did anybody else have anything else for story before we move on?
I mean, without we're not doing spoilers, but it's like
Yeah.
I think I'm looking forward to when we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that the dungeons after the MSQ are
Yes.
tied into the story more than any dungeons, period. Like any expert type
So
dungeons.
cool.
They are so great. They are so amazing. And
Forward to that.
yeah, it's
Okay.
good. It's good.
It's good stuff. All right, so story score, Avalonstar. What did you give it?
I gave it a 5.
5?
Mhm.
Impactful.
Zanidra?
5.
Yeah, just
Aldino 5, Bryn 5. I gave it a 4.
yeah. I just
That puts us at 24 out of 25
yeah,
for story.
You can't get
Deserved.
mad at me for audio.
deserved.
I'm not mad. I'm curious.
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah.
So next up, we're going to talk about the audio.
Yes.
So first thing that happened to me today, when I showed up with these guys, what they were like, "What do you mean 3?" I gave it a 3, and my reasons that they've been
Yeah.
waiting for.
Yes.
There are some songs I really like
Mhm.
really super would listen to 5 hours at a time. Like
Okay.
the remix that we heard in the job compilation
Mm-hmm.
is in one of the later dungeons, one of the last dungeons, It is amazing. I love it. It's so
beautiful.
great. I actually really like the battle theme-ized main theme.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The regular battle theme when you're like on the field.
Sure.
But it's like I'm listening to some really peaceful guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't hate it,
Yeah.
but I'm not a particular fan of it. I do not like Titania's theme at all.
Oh, you don't like the fa la 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 line?
Nope, don't like it.
Not for
So
everybody.
Yeah.
no, so and then I couldn't think of any that I like did not like or super did like. The rest of them, I'm just gonna bunch into. Yep, that's MMO music, and that's why I gave it a 3.
Okay.
It makes sense. I agree with that guitar riff. Oh my goodness, so many times.
So really, it was like a 3.5, and then I just started to like 3.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, it makes sense.
Not how math works.
That's why I just turned battle music off.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess you could do that. I mean, I definitely turned mount music off.
I had to.
I think
turned battle music off just so I could.
always off. I think for me, one of the things that surprised me, going back to Titania, the song to me wasn't as annoying as it felt like it should have been.
Sure.
To me, like just it's pixies and all this, and it's. I feel like something like that, it very easily you could be like
fluctuation to it.
mute,
Yeah.
But it's also, I think it's also not super like loud in your face
Sure.
either. It's a little dulled down from what it could have been. I mean, this is Soken, this is the guy that did the Papaya song, right? Like it could have been worse.
It could have been.
Yeah.
I think it was okay.
I like Papaya more.
I like the Titania song just because of the theme of it. Like she doesn't. I don't want to spoil it. However, you know how pixies are. They want to play forever,
Yeah.
and it never changes. Yeah, it will never change. You're stuck here forever.
I guess thematically that's a good point.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why. Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I think, mostly, like, I guess my score is, like, I gave it a 5. It was just mainly because of all of the music has been so thematic, and I just catch myself, like, getting lost in the music. Like, some of the stuff, I think one of my, favorite tunes is Nighttime Crystarium.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a big fan of lyricized music, but those vocals at night.
Yeah.
There's a lot of vocals.
Whenever night hours are
tracks.
happening, it is. I just sit there and listen to it a couple of times, and then I go do whatever I need to do.
Like Twilight over Thanalan. It's like it's one of those.
It's that level of immersion, and it's like that for so many pieces of music, and Soken and Neem are just showing such breadth of such range with all of it.
Yeah, I gave it a 5. I gave it a 5 because I just loved the music, and also I like the little quest accepted riff, and to the point where it's like I've been accepting every quest that I can.
The first time I heard that, I was kind of like, "What is that?" Like,
yeah, but I like that so much. I think the voice acting, like, kind of pivoting off the music because I really enjoyed it. I thought the voice acting really delivered.
Oh,
I thought there's a lot of voice acting, which was like, when you kind of compare it, like, I just felt like there was a lot of scenes that had a lot of good dialogue. I thought the actors really were able to play with the space.
Voice direction was great.
On that same note,
did you all play with English voices? Because I play with Japanese voices.
Yeah.
Play with English.
I don't speak Japanese, so
it just thematically in my brain. So
They usually have better voice direction too. Like I don't know what it is. Maybe it's not voice direction. Maybe it's just them getting into it. But there's a lot of times where it's like you don't feel the impact with English, and you feel it this time. At least I did, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, that's good
on the note of voice acting, one of the biggest things as a whole that stuck out to me for this expansion, and it's like the smallest thing. When you go to fight again, going back to Titania, her intro isn't voiced.
Yeah.
Her outro is, the intro and outro of the other trial is, but the intro of Titania isn't, and that has driven me absolutely nuts.
Because you
Yeah,
think I thought my sound was broken.
it totally is weird.
I went
because-
into it for the first time, and everybody else in the party was like, "Did nobody else hear that either?" It's like, no, it's not there.
Yeah,
I don't know
Maybe
why.
it's actually broken.
Well,
maybe.
it could be broken, but one of the things they did a panel talking about just the logistics of voice acting and how sometimes they might have had it recorded, but then they had to make a change, and so they ended up having to cut it out.
It's possible. It's possible, but it's
like I was like, once you kind of like, I'm with you, because I was always like, well, why is this voice acted? And
it's
this is
incredibly noticeable that it's there. I mean, they had a there was a voice cutscene before that, and then you get in there and it's just like silence. With text.
And the music
I'm like,
hasn't started yet either. So
yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. It really pulled me out from that, and so that was my biggest like audio gripe. Everything else has been amazing. I mean, they all the new stuff is fantastic. If you haven't already, turn off like your ambient noises, your sound effects, everything. Just go around in the zones, get a good pair of headphones, just crank it up. Like I'm noticing, a week after, I'm still noticing little things in the music that I never noticed over speakers.
I tripped
before.
over that I really liked was in Slitherbow. The music is 1.0 Gridania music.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Not only is it 1.0 Gridania music, it was one of my favorite tracks
Yeah, it's a good one.
overall from 1.0. And so you get in there, and
if
it's
you fly
just
around
like,
there, you see the echoes. Like,
not going into like this. I don't think this is a spoiler, but if you actually go watch the 1.0 kind of opening cutscene, there are a lot of characters that were in that cutscene that are in or on the first.
Yes. Yeah. There's a
And
lot
I
of
was
that.
just like, well, hello.
Yeah.
I
I think for me too, the way that they dynamically changed area music as well. So like if you're on this quest and like stuff is things are happening, like it'll play a more like dramatic music or it'll change that out. Like going back to the Slitherbow, like you have that that amazing 1.0 Gridania track, and then like stuff happens, and then it's like this more like serious tone whenever you go in there for a little bit. And I thought that was really cool. I also think it was really cool if, again, this goes back to like headphones, right, and just noticing things more. I don't think that they used as much like PC tools this time around. Like I'm here, you go to Ilmeg, you can hear guitar strings.
Yes.
The piano themes feel like they're actually, it might have been like Keiko playing those or something. So those tracks, really, really well done.
The fidelity of the instruments and stuff, is really noticeable.
I think for me, my favorite songs right now, Amarang, Daytime, and then Final Area, for me.
Sure.
Those two, I can't get enough of them.
Yeah. The two after story dungeons, like I will listen to them forever, probably. Like, oh my goodness, they're both so good.
I want to get there.
Take your time.
Actually, for context for me, this is really weird because like for 2 years ago, my wife was going to go on a trip before, and she didn't want to leave me hanging on the MSQ because she would be gone for a week. So we put in 4 13-hour days. And this is the exact opposite of that. And I don't know, we've been actually been able just to talk and to digest things like that, which has been really nice. Really nice change of pace. And I get, it's better because my community can now share in this with me because I had all of them. So from that standpoint, it's like, I'm keeping myself busy. I might do this again 2 years from now. For that, it's just been such a nice experience. I mean, granted, completely off topic of sound, but yeah.
That's fine.
We like tangents here.
I think the worst part about this too, we got people talking about the soundtrack in the chat. We still have to get like the 4.3 soundtrack or whatever it is before we can even get to Shadowbringers, which is like, man, like not that Stormblood didn't have some good stuff, but it's like this new stuff is just, it's killer. It really is.
It's like the theme of this expansion I like much better than Stormblood's just general theme, that kind of March military music.
I wasn't crazy about that
fantasy
either.
quest music. Like, and you can feel it. Like, it's just like in the theme, that opening interval. I'm not going to go into music theory nerding, but it's just that the two notes that always start, the theme, right?
Yeah.
It's just iconic. And it's in every other song. They keep coming back to it. And I don't know. I love that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's crazy too, because they do that, but then there's also so much variety.
Yeah.
This time around too, and I mean, and I already said it too, but I'll say it again. There's also a lot more vocals being used this time around as well. I mean, before you'd have, maybe a primal fight gets vocals, and that's it. But this time you've got Crystarium's got some vocals. Amarang, I think, has some. Raktika has some. The battle theme has some. Like, it's all over the place, and I think it's just it's. I don't know what made that happen. If Soka's just like, I just want to do more vocal stuff and just did it, or if I don't know, but it worked really well.
Shout out to one of my mods in the chat. Like, one of the first things she said is like, this is Budgetbringers.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Because they brought it. They
did.
Yeah.
They did. That's where the
I
budget
briefly did that thought. Yeah, like, what is it? 15, it was over, so now we got the money.
Yeah. That's
There you
really
go.
what it feels like. You can really feel the investment everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry for those people looking forward to episode Luna Freya, but our main battle track has vocals now.
Yeah.
I think that was probably a right call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh no.
Once again, best story in the last 20 years. That is.
Yep. Anything else on audio before we move on?
It was mentioned in the chat there. I do think it's a little bit weird. I wish they had shortened the silence in between looping.
Yeah.
Yes.
I noticed that. Yeah.
I do wish they would shorten that a little bit, because it was long enough to be like, wait, there's no sound, and you're just kind of like fighting fate or something.
I've noticed that a lot, because I've been having to work, unfortunately, this week. I'm like, I want to play more, but I have responsibilities. #adulting. But so, like, I'll log in and I'll go to Amarang or the Final Zone, and I'll just be like, I'm just gonna idle here and listen to the music while I work. And then you get that, like, gap. It's noticeable.
It's just noticeably long. If they had shortened it a little bit, then it would have felt more like, okay, this is repeating, but it's more like if I were to repeat once in iTunes, the gap or whatever. But it's long enough that I'm like, wait, is my sound out? And
What did I do?
this happens in this game.
Yeah, it does.
Right. It was weird. And I wonder, I mean, some people have been asking, I think, again, in the chat, somebody was talking about adding, like, a loop version for Raktika. And I have to wonder if it was purposeful that none of these had loops, because we talked about how maybe it was like live recordings, like live instrumentation on this stuff. Yeah. And it just makes it easier that way to have an ending for the track. Composing it and stuff, and then just start it back up. But yeah, the gap was definitely too long.
Yeah.
They have gone back and looped songs before, like that Siren Tower dungeon. I forget what it's called.
Oh,
well, they didn't
Sirius.
loop it.
Sarah
They
Sirius.
actually
Sirius wasn't looped.
recomposed.
No,
okay.
That
It
whole
played
track.
once. It played once at the beginning, and that was it. You didn't get the song for the rest of the dungeon. And now when you go through it,
Well, remember 2.0 dungeons, they didn't have dungeon music. They had maybe a minute-long intro, and then it would fade into battle music. And so during one of their, the first or second, like, 14-hour broadcasts that they did for the anniversary, like, Sokin's, like, task was, he's like, I'm going to make an actual Pharaoh Sirius song for the whole dungeon.
Yeah.
And then they went and they added that in. Yeah.
but there is a precedent, so
They
won't consider it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, final scores for audio.
5.
5, 5, 5, 3. I'm a 4. That's gonna put us at 22 out of 25 for audio. Battle is, there's a lot of.
How do I do
battle
half a
things.
finger?
You got to get one of those. Just stick your finger and just cut it right off, like the what are the cigar things, right? You just.
Fusion is wishing terrible things on me.
I mean, you gave audio a 3.
Wow.
I can't say that. I'm like the second low. I'm the only other person that didn't give it a perfect score. I can't really say much on that.
I just didn't want to give everything 4s and 5s. Okay.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, look, you got to be honest. That's the whole point, right? Be honest. So battles, a lot of stuff. Dungeons.
Yeah.
We already talked about trust. I think we can skip talking about trust. Dungeons for me, like I didn't have any issues with dungeons. With like new mechanics or anything like that. A lot of them were still familiar. I don't know that anything really stood out at me as like, oh my gosh, this is like new and crazy. But it felt more of just kind of a either stuff was reused or just like a natural evolution of stuff that we've already had.
Maybe that last story boss.
Oh yeah.
Not the trial, but the dungeon one.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was pretty
yeah. Though I mean that also has. I mean, we've seen something similar to that though in Heaven's Word, or even
so.
It's like Demon Wall.
There's a mechanic.
Yeah.
That you have to hope you're standing in the right place.
Yeah.
And then if you're not, you have to move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you have to stand in the other place.
Right. And
there is no tell.
Yeah, none. It's interesting because you kind of have to see it, and that's cool. I kind of like that. I'm going to be like, the thing that blew my mind is, once again, like I said, the dungeons after the story. The last boss of one of them is a very familiar face.
Yep.
And the mechanics are similar, but different enough in a way that's thematic, that's amazing.
Cool.
It's good. It's really
Oh my god. My second time in that dungeon, both me and my DPS partner ran into the thing that explodes. So everyone died.
It's funny. The first couple of times I ran that dungeon, I didn't have any issues. And then yesterday, me and the wife ran it, and we wiped like 4 times.
Right.
It's just like, what is happening here?
It's hit or miss, that last one.
It was like within 3 seconds too. It was like, oh.
Whoops.
Sorry.
Oh, that's what happens.
You run right in. Where's the mechanic? I just want to make sure I stand right there. Okay.
And it's like all mechanics that you've seen before remixed in a very interesting way. And I loved it. That was really cool.
I love that iterative process though that they do. It was really interesting because one of my friends, like, we've been trying to get him to play forever, and he eventually bought like the story skip and stuff, and we've been like kind of just so he can play with us, and we've been like kind of catching him up on everything else. But just to go from like, I think he'd just gotten into Heaven's Word, and then all of a sudden he does the first dungeon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, this is what happened when you don't have a progression between Heaven's Word. He's like, oh my god, this is so sweaty. I'm like, at least we're able to like, oh, this is harder. Oh, this is harder. Oh, this is weird. It's like going from like 0 to 11.
Yeah.
And so it really just shows how they kind of love, adding things,
layers.
But you know what I noticed this time around? When people made mistakes, the rest of the people that I ended up running with, not just friends, like randos, were much nicer and much more apologetic. Even like if somebody screwed up, they go, "Oh, I'm sorry," it's first time here. Everybody's like, "It's cool, don't even worry about it."
And I think that comes with just the timing, right? It's everybody's first time in everything right now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But you still could have had your crew who's like, you didn't get this on the first try. That was so obvious. We've had that mechanic 12 times,
Yeah. And
well, you've kept it with the raids, like you've seen a lot of it, and that's actually kind of neat to see that whole connection. But if you haven't kept up with the raids, like, you might have seen some of this stuff, like, but it really depends on how often it's. I enjoy the remix. Go ahead.
I said that's always the interesting one when you'll be doing a dungeon and all of a sudden it's like, here's a raid mechanic, and you're like, wait a minute, like,
hold on now.
Okay. I can remember that back in was it Heaven's Word, when you're going up the mountain, they have the Rafflesia boss, and it's basically like the turn. Is that
turn
6?
Yeah.
It's just like, here's the turn 6 boss, and it's like, wait, what? Like, I remember doing turn 6. This is hard. How are we gonna do this? I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pull this off.
Well, I think also
because they did it in reverse.
Fell down a little, so it's not like, oh, this one mechanic will wipe you. It's like, oh, that puts out some damage. So it's it gives you that that level to recover, because the dungeons aren't designed to punish you. They're designed ideally to kind of give you some idea of what's coming, here in a couple weeks.
Yeah. I was really surprised how recoverable some of the fights were along the way.
I was just about to say that.
The second trial especially.
Yes.
Maybe a minute in, we had damn near about a full wipe.
Yeah.
And somehow we recovered it and still one-shot the thing. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't understand how we
Don't
did
get
that.
it.
Oh, I actually did have one kind of bad experience. Not really, it was more funny. Someone in the chat reminded me, in that second trial, there's a linear stack mechanic, and it was me, another DPS, and 2 tanks were still alive at like 1%.
Yeah.
And it landed on the other DPS, and me and the tanks kind of went,
See
bye. You're dead now.
Have fun.
And they immediately started complaining in the chat, and I understand, like,
Yeah, sure.
if we'd have stood with them, we would have all died. But that's
It's
how
like
you're
one
supposed
for
to
the
do
team,
it.
like,
Yeah.
I know.
Right.
So yeah, I get it. He's like, no, we should have already wiped this, that, and the other thing. But because we stayed up, a healer actually had a raise and was getting up, and then we were able to get the limit break, and they were able to raise everybody. So at that 1%, we were able to clear because we let that guy die.
Sometimes it happens.
Sometimes
I
you
think
just gotta let the guy die.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm sorry, guy, but
What were you talking about
I had a
before?
guy
Quality of
return.
death mechanics?
yeah,
Yeah,
call
totally.
him that.
I had a guy
I'm so happy
returning.
you
Oh, I
found
thought
an
we were all gonna wipe. And it's like,
Yeah, I think one of the really good
did.
quality of death mechanics, and this is, you know, if you watch the live letter or you were at the media tour, you know, she was like, yeah, and we added decimals to the health bar, so now you can wipe it 0.1%. Ha 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 ha. I wiped to 0.1% on Titania Extreme. Was not as funny as he made it out to be.
That's great. It's funny to me.
Like, it happened, and I'm like,
You're-
Yoshida's in his office somewhere just laughing.
Yeah. I wonder, you know, I would love it if they compile every 0.1% wipe to
Oh
then
my gosh.
do at some point.
Every
Like,
time they
okay,
get
That
like a
would be
little
funny.
That'd be great use of the duty recorder. Just like,
Exactly.
you know, automatically just send that home, and they just have compilation of everybody's 0.1%.
Oh no.
Oh man, I would watch that eating popcorn. It'd be hilarious.
Oh, that'd be,
Gone for
I would consume multiple large popcorns watching that.
So yeah, send all of those to us. We'll watch them.
No, if people legitimately send us their 0.1%, I will make a video.
That would be so great.
Well, Eden's coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's gonna be good.
so I'm gonna shift focus to jobs, unless anybody has anything else to add to the dungeon.
I was just gonna say, let's move into jobs. Yeah.
Also, I have really fallen in love with Scholar, and the only thing that I would change about it would be the ability to aether flow outside of combat. That'd be the one change. Because if we're on the run, like, I have to sprint ahead, pop a ruin 2, just so I can use that. So that way, if I need to lustrate or if I need to, you know, save the tank at all, like, that ends up being what it, like, was the only thing. It's like, well, maybe small pull, then we can do some big pulls when I have that off of cool. You know, like, it's really kind of frustrating. Outside of that, like the way the fairy works, the way that everything kind of comes together, I was kind of nervous with it. I played around with it at the media tour, but having gone hands on with it, leveled it, like I have, I did, as I always do, Summoner Scholar throughout the main MSQ, and I did all the battle stuff, all the single player stuff as my summoner, and loved it. And then everything I've done multiplayer has been 100% Scholar, and I've really appreciated that. And then prior to doing the podcast, we just I've been tooling around, and Machinist is amazing. I picked it. Chris and I did a draft over the jobs that we were all going to level this expansion, and I picked it from my experience with Media Tour. But we just ran it, and I was parsing because that's what people do, and I was just crushing everybody else. We did some
what level were you at?
So we ran a 60, and we did the Bismarck trial, the regular Bismarck trial. So at the 60, I was like, and so we'll see what happens at 80. We'll see what happens like at end game. But I was like, I was just really getting some good numbers, and it was really exciting, and I really enjoyed just how fast it is.
I will say, my Machinist is 73 right now. I maxed Fate rank in Kalusia, if that's any indication of how much. That's mostly Machinists just messing around. Reassemble plus drill is the most OP feeling thing I think I've had in terms of damage dealing.
I've heard
in
somebody
this game.
like say they got a 40k the heat whatever, like where you pop on that timer, you put out the damage and let it explode.
Oh, wildfire, yeah.
Wildfire, 40k wildfire. It's like,
my gosh, yeah. I mean,
Definitely
I'll
doable.
just in Kalusia at low levels on like level 70 fates, I can if I crit my drill, it's like 30k.
yeah.
It's
crazy.
crazy.
Oh,
It's like half. It's almost like half a health bar on a lot of those mobs. It's insane.
It's a Death Flare. It's an Ockmorn. You know, like it's
yeah.
what that is. Single target. It's crazy.
The
and now people understand why I was like machinist hype after Media Tour. I'm like, this job,
It's
you
great.
guys have no idea. And now
it's
everyone's
so
like,
great.
machinist
It feels like
is
it has
so
a real
good.
identity to what it's trying to be and how it plays. I like the speed on it and everything like that. Man, it's not the door. But the one thing I do want to say is, on a healing perspective, as a healer, I heal so much more.
Sure.
And it's that I actually really appreciate that. That's one of the things that has drawn me back into healing. I'm not a green DPS. I'm actually a healer. And then every healer has like 3 things. You have your dot, you have your attack, and you have your AoE. And that's just how it functions. And then I'll let you guys talk. I'll see what's happening.
Yeah.
So along those lines, along his original lines with Scholar,
Yeah.
I tried Astro for the first time yesterday.
Mhm.
There are a lot of card changes, as you guys may
Yeah.
recall. I don't mind them. I've heard a lot of people don't like them, but I don't have a problem with them. I think they're kind of cool. The big change there that I have a problem with is like the Aetherflow thing, where you can't use it outside of combat. If you use a card outside of combat, you don't get the little buff, the Solar Lunar Celestial buff that it gives you, which I think is really stupid, especially in Fates when things die quickly.
Yeah, they should disallow it in some way, like, because you can press the button. Like, if I can't get the buff outside of it, then don't let me press the button at the very least.
That's fair.
Or
So I
just
don't lose it.
give it.
Yeah,
I mean,
or
there's
just
a
give-
few.
I mean, yeah,
There's a few
Yeah,
abilities that you can't
could-
use.
yeah.
I could see them not giving the buff because they don't want people to just build up their buffs and then go into
Outside,
a dungeon.
yeah.
But if you zone, they go away.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So it's
that doesn't help you there.
Yeah.
Please just give me the stupid buff. I've wasted
Yeah.
too many already.
I mean, the ones that come to mind too is Machinist has I forget what it's called, but it builds heat gauge, but you can only use that in battle.
Okay,
So
yeah.
that you know, like I get it to an extent, right? Dancer's got not the first step, but like the
Technical?
second one that does like the AoE stuff. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't use that one out of battle.
Mhm.
And you know, like I get it, but it would also be nice to like not have to deal with that. Especially one of the biggest things I had with 4.0 Machinist was doing Eureka, because so many times that ability where you need to be in battle, it just wouldn't show up for me because of the lag, and it made it really hard to play Machinist in Eureka with that issue. And I had that same issue, you know, back in like 3.0, like doing hunts, right? It's just if you have a lot of lag, some things maybe don't work as fast as they should.
Yeah. I could talk about Summoner for the entire podcast. I won't. But it's really different. Part of that is the Aetherflow change. There's a lot I like, a lot that I like about it. But the job changes are why I had to take a point. I mean, I like just about everything else. There's just some of them that just don't make sense yet that they're going to have to revisit in a patch, and I'm sure that they will. But specifically for Summoner, I don't know how, but it got busier. I don't understand how it's possible, but it did.
I
Which
kept
is
hearing
fine.
it was simplified.
It is simplified, but to get the maximum out of it is more involved than it was.
Yeah.
Just a little.
I feel like Bard is the same level
Right.
of busyness, but it's a different. Like they took away, make sure that you're watching everybody's TP, MP, and doing Pro Requiem.
Right.
They took that away, and that was like a sort of kind of pay attention to that. And then they added Apex Arrow, where you have to watch your little thing, and as soon as it hits 20, you need to hit it, and it's just like, I don't like this. Bard feels really clunky to me right now.
I think for me, for my Dragoon, Dragoon's interesting. It's it's one of those like no drastic changes, but it's just an evolution of what was there. And so now we have if you meet the directional or the positionals on the last two in your combo, you get your initial strike gets upgraded.
Yes.
And then it just continue. It's like a continuous loop, which is really nice.
The heavy thrust dot, whatever, or like that buff that they removed, honestly, is a big game changer for me in Dragoon. That ended up being something where it just kind of feels a little bit more fluid, just like we were talking about with Summoner a second ago.
It does,
and like Summoner's a lot faster. Like it
is faster.
Getting into Bahamut, getting into that, it feels like I'm always doing something cool. Anyway, go ahead.
The other thing, from a melee perspective, roll action wise, True North is a charged ability now.
Yes.
That's awesome. Like I've been one of these people that like I'm not crazy about positionals to begin with. I'm like if they were, I get that it's like a skill thing, right? For people that still want to like be able to be like super good at stuff to hit your positionals. I get it. I'm not crazy about it. But to have 2 charges for True North is amazing. And I'm glad that they gave it
to have something that doesn't knock you back is amazing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. For me it's True North. Like I'll be doing Titania Extreme, and you basically, you position yourself around her, and you have to there's stack mechanics. And sometimes they go on for a little bit. So like there's a phase like I'll pop True North twice, still be able to meet my positionals. And it's great. Like, it's fantastic. I don't feel, it's... And so I'm glad that they added that. I think that's really nice for that. For me, Dragoon, like, it feels fine. Like, it seems a little bit more busy, but I think part of that is because they added a nice way to loop your combo.
Yes.
But then they also give you that extra charge for True North. I think that makes a huge difference, too, because before, for me... Anyway, and there's gonna be like some hardcore raiders that are like, oh, you're terrible, Dragoon. For me, like, I would be always reluctant to use it because I'm like, well, maybe I need, it'll be better used later on in the fight or something like that. And I'm using it way more now, especially because I have to meet those positionals in order to get my Raiden thrust. And so it feels really good for me. I think it's in a good place. Machinist, I still haven't like found, I haven't really like looked up like the optimal rotation yet. But I've been having a lot of fun with it. I've been having a lot of fun with Machinist. I actually picked up Dancer a little bit too. My Dancer is 62 now, and that's it's a lot more fun than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
But
it is a lot of watching though, like a lot.
Yeah.
I've almost hit like rank 3 on Fates in Lakeland, and so it's like I've really enjoyed the Fate system, especially as a just as a dad. Like literally, got a ton of options to play. Like if I want to go grind Fates, I'm hitting multiple bars. Like I'm ranking up in the Fates, I'm getting this currency, I'm doing these things. I'm also getting XP right now. Ultimately, there is a concern that I have, and we've talked about it before. It's like what happens when I don't need to rank up the Fates anymore, because there is a cap right now on them, and eventually like when you have all of that done, like I hope they expand on that it's not like always going to be that, because I really love that kind of thing, because I like with a Fate, like I can kids or family or life or whatever needs me stepping away, like and so from somebody who's been playing, it's like, I know that probably is going to happen, so I'm not going to queue for dungeons, so I'm going to go do that. It has a value. It's back. I've run more Fates in the it's so good, and so hopefully they expand it. I think if from a battle perspective, from a job perspective, I really, and we talked to Yoshi P about this specifically, is I really hope they bring in some form of glamour level, some form of reason that XP is valuable at cap, because at some point this is all great, but if I don't need XP, like
here's the thing, and this is with the way that they have gemstones now at with the Fates, it's bordering that like battle and like other quality of life line a little bit, right? So the way it works, and this isn't really spoilers, each zone now in 5.0 areas, this doesn't apply to any other older zones, you have Fate ranks. So in order to go from rank 1 to rank 2, you need to do 6 Fates, and then you need to do 60 and then 60 to go from rank 2 to rank 3, and then as you do that, you unlock different things at the Gemstone Trader NPC. So one of the really great things I thought was nice for progression through MSQ, do 6 Fates in a zone, and then if at that time you have access to the Gem Trader, you don't always do, depending on where they are on the map. Rank 2 is all you need for the writing map, which is great, because one of the thing, when they introduced writing maps originally, they're like, do all these hunts and stuff for all these areas that you don't go into anymore. I'm like, this is stupid. This is terrible. The way that they have it in 5.0 is amazing, and they should go back and rework it to do it in all the other zones. But
they can't, or like if they do, it is a love letter to the community, because the Fate system for 5.0 isn't the Fate system of 4. It's a separate system, codified and all that.
So I would like to let everyone know because maybe they forgot. You don't need a riding map for 5.0 zones because the motorcycle is the fastest. It actually gets the first level and there's only one level. So if you use the motorcycle when you can only be on the ground, you're the fastest you can be. Just saying.
Yeah.
Like I kept seeing people on their Chocobo.
Not everybody has the motorcycle.
Yes, I know.
My wife gives me shit every single time I random a motorcycle because it's like you're just leaving me behind, and they're like, oh yeah, well, you know, we have to get you the motorcycle, but it's like, I gotta pay for the motorcycle so you can be fat. No, it's like, so I'm just gonna ride my fat cat. It's
right. If you have it, use it because it's fast. Like that's cool. But like if you didn't know, that's the thing you can do.
Now you know.
Buy it for it, certainly.
I think the other thing that's really cool too. I mean, you know, talking about the rewards and longevity of the Fate stuff is, so each area. I mean, you have to rank up in each area, and so rank 1 will give you the riding map, and then rank 2 will give you like an orchestrion roll for that zone, and then like something else like bardings or triple trad cards, something. Right? There's something there. Not everybody's gonna want that stuff, but it's there. And then if you get it in all areas, you get even more stuff. So there is incentive, but after you do those, you know, 200 and something fates,
I just would love to see that as evergreen content in that way. It's like, I like the content that keeps scaling and growing because of that, because if, you know, it's like, it just feeds that grind in me. Like I end up enjoying it because I feel like I'm feeling multiple bars. And once I don't need to rank up in that zone, okay.
That's my bad. It's almost 400 fates. I said 200 something. No, it's way more than that.
It's a lot.
I'm not great at math. Full disclosure.
That's fine. So the fates did remind me of one thing I do want to say before we go on about battle system and summoner specifically. Because they still haven't fixed it, and I don't think it'll ever be fixed. Pets are still just stupid. The egg actions being stacked, it's cool. When something dies after you press it, you use a stack, you don't get what you're supposed to get because of it. And sometimes, every once in a while, you press it, it'll go off. Maybe a boss will go invulnerable. It won't actually happen. You don't get the stack of, you know, your proc that you're supposed to get from it. It drives me up a wall. It drives me.
You know, I've noticed
benediction and lustrate. Like it's like it's like a timing thing in which that it's like you use it and then it doesn't register and then
but before
I've noticed that on my dragoon with chaos thrust. It does. I feel like it maybe the dot is either delayed or something. So something's weird. I also noticed too. They have remember the way people were level in Blue Mage? It seems like they fixed that because there's a delay now between when you kill a mob and when you can switch jobs again.
So
that was just, you know, a one-off. Like that's something I noticed.
You know, it's just one of those things. It always drives me up a wall when you like before you press the pet action button and they would decide to do it or not. But when it went off, it went off. With this, you do it, and whether it goes off or not, you've used that stack, and so, or that charge. So it kind of it feels bad to me. I don't want to say clunky, but it does. It feels clunky.
Sure. That's one of the things I really liked with the Machinist rework is how they took the turret and the overcharge for the turret, and it's like at the end of its life, it'll just use this, but if the mob's gonna already be dead, you can use it now. Same thing with detonate or the wildfire. Where you can end it early. And I think that was amazing, and I love that they did that.
It's great. I mean, you know, there's a lot of good. It reminds me. Has anyone played Gunbreaker a lot?
I have not.
I've dabbled briefly.
I mean, at the media tour, but not now.
Yeah. Okay. Because I've heard that people find it very fun, which I mean, we thought were going to be the case because we got to play a little bit early and it was just flowing very well. But yeah, I don't have any hands on with it. I unlocked it and I was like, I'm going to do this one day.
I was like, I'm going to go unlock Dancer, and for some reason, I guess I wanted to, or subconsciously, I teleported into Gridani. I go, did I say Dancer? I meant Gunbreaker. Like, okay, like I was like
gun dancer, it's fine.
It's fine. I hear it's overpowered, and then people were like, oh, it's overpowered. I was like, that's how you want to introduce a job. You don't want to introduce a job and be like, oh man, this sucks.
Get people into it, and
Like
then in the
machinist?
0.1 patch,
Right,
then you
yeah,
nerf
yeah,
it to
like,
hell.
then you can adjust it down or move other people up.
Yeah.
But it's like you want people to go in and be happy, because the worst thing the best thing you want people to say is, man, they really need to nerf this job a little bit. I'm having too much fun with it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, good feedback.
That's what you want.
If everybody who's having a blast with this job says,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm way too powerful, then that's a good place to start, as opposed to
That's fair.
the other way. Where
I'm
people
kind of like that
oh,
with
that's
Dancer right now. I mean, if just going into something and just using like the AOE abilities that it has, like I'm not looking at like raw numbers, right? So I don't, I may not be doing that much, but it feels like I'm doing like a crap ton of damage off my AOEs, and it feels fantastic.
I think they nailed the feel of most jobs. Now the optimization, it's always what we're gonna have to figure out.
I haven't gotten used to Astro yet, though. Just like when we say nail, like
Oh, okay.
I haven't put enough time into it, so I can't sit here and say like it's ruined. But it's like I know a lot of people, they're coming around to it, but it's still like the randomization has moved to getting 3 different cards as a part of using that ability, as opposed to just like it used to be like, did I get the card I want? But outside of that, outside of Astro, I'm just not there yet. I agree.
I also like on the Astro meter where it shows you which symbols you've gotten. If around the card, at the top of the card, it tells you which symbol that card will give you if you use it. And then on the sides of it, there's little X's, and that's a melee card, or a little circle, and that's a range/healer card.
Which is nice.
So you don't even have to look at the description. It's just all up there on the little meter.
Which is nice.
They did a real good job of just, I mean, and this is bleeding into quality of life stuff again, but it's just, everything is just, it feels like everything makes more sense. Right? There's no like confusion or like I can't remember what this is, or it's just everything for me, from my point of view, right? Because especially when we're coming in, off a battle, it's like I don't play all the jobs. The ones that I play feel fine. Like and then you'll hear from a healer, and it's like, this feels like the worst thing ever, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm okay.
The best thing to do to insulate, and this is always the advice I give, is to make sure you don't just main one job. The game isn't based around that, and you run the risk of that being in love with something, and then a change comes along, and then you're just like, and then it's like, hey, by the way, you need to buy a gem potion. Or guess what? You're going to do a big grind to get back to where you were. Imagine if I owned a summoner and didn't like it for some reason, and then I'd say, oh, well, in order to start the game, I now got to go pick up either Gunbreaker or like it's like where you end up feeling like there could be a long road to hoe. And so I just say, like, make sure, like, especially like if you're, I love healing, make sure you have at least 2, because if that way, if you hate a change with an expansion, you got to back up, and you're not sitting here. That
was my biggest problem in Stormblood. When Stormblood first hit, Dragoon was terrible.
Samurai
it was in a rough spot, and so my only other like secondary at that time was Machinist, and they reworked Machinist for a reason. So it's just like, I guess I'm just stuck with this for a while. I mean, I eventually did end up going a level in Samurai, and I like Samurai a lot, but I mean, Dragoon's my main. Like that's how it's always going to be, but. Yeah, it's definitely, variety is the spice of life, right?
It is.
Definitely get out there and try different stuff. And
I don't like Black Mage and Red Mage. It's too boring.
You're just so like centered on Summoner that
I don't
even
care
if they make changes, you're like, whatever, these changes are fine.
I mean, like, effort to damage right now is kind of crappy, but let's not go into it. But I'm still gonna be it. I don't know why.
That's what I said about like Dark Knight is the reason I started playing this game in the first place, and I will go wherever Dark Knight goes. And that said, 1, there seems to be a distinct lack of tank talk on here. 2,
exactly.
I'm sorry. I guess you didn't hear that there really aren't tanks anymore.
Oh my goodness.
No, like let's be real. Tanking, in my opinion, has always been the easiest role in the game.
Oh wow.
And they made it dumb.
Whoa.
I'm saying it. Like people can. I get the logic behind the change, but I'm either in tank stance or I'm not. Like nobody can rip hate from me. There is no challenge. Thank you for the faster queue.
Although, at the very beginning, there was not a faster queue for tanks.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, that is not here nor there on the intelligence.
Not at launch, but I see healer.
But how has it felt so far?
I love being a tank. I just don't think the game has that.
Is this a Brian versus Brian battle?
I think. I love my Dark Knight and Paladin. I don't hate on tanks. I just don't think that there's a complexity to them. I mean, prove me wrong. I would love to know if there's.
I'm not. I mean, that I respect the opinion, but I that's not what I necessarily look for out of the job. I just like I like being able to have that control over battle, and at least for Dark Knight, I'm like, oh, what's life going to be like after Dark Arts becomes a buff instead of like a button I have to press, and it's that what everybody else has been saying. It's like the job is busy or somehow.
Yeah.
And like there are less things I have to worry about. Like as a Dark Knight, I don't have I can always use my AoE combo now instead of be like, oh shit, I ran out of MP again because I was
the flow
because I ran out of MP. It's just I don't have to worry. A lot of little quality of life stuff that I would have to worry about before. I feel less anxious being a tank now than I used to.
Tank anxiety is way down.
Healer anxiety though it seems up because like somebody mentioned Zmail before, and I'm like I was healing that and I'm we wiped like a couple of times and then people wiping Zmail, it's fine, but it's like I felt like we wiped a lot faster in older content. Like shit just hits hard. I get scared.
Everything hits hard.
There's their thing to scare.
Warriors can't live forever. Like as as somebody who's like I've really leaned more into the healing aspect of it because it actually makes you can do damage, and I do as well. But there's a thought process that comes into it. In the past, like literally, Dark Knight, Paladin, like Warrior stole me away with 4.2, but like. I've always enjoyed the tanking role because you set the pace for the party. There's a lot there that's more than just like taking the big hits.
Yeah.
But it's that at the end of the day now, like I get why that changed. It just I can't. I'm looking for something a little bit more, and I get it. The numbers are there. The anxiety was there. The skill gap was there. Now I feel like they made a logical adjustment. It's shifted over to the healing side, and I just feel like. Healing gives me what I was looking for in a healer. I'm not a green DPS. I'm a healer. And that's why I say that blue, like the tank has shifted to a blue DPS as opposed to just a straight up DPS.
I think that's true in the dungeon content. I don't know how the raids are going to be because
this all could be shifted over easily when Eden comes out.
Yeah, I have a feeling that they're going to have a mini game between the two of them. With the buffs that they have, and you probably are going to have to manage aggro as you always do because of switching tanks. But it's going to be interesting having all of the mitigation tools that they have to give to people. I don't know. Maybe they'll be forced to use it.
I mean, the function's changing. I mean, the fact that we can reduce, we have a party buff now. It's like, okay, they did this for a reason. It's not like being a tank is less about, getting hate and more about protecting your party. And they kind of like depleted tank privilege as well. Like I can't be like, oh, tank privilege. I'll just say, nope, I just got shit on. It's like I did not think I thought I could survive that. Nope, can't survive that anymore. No,
it's shifted over to the healer's responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like because like Warrior used to. I was like, I never healed a Warrior. Like Warrior could always just do whatever, and it's like I remember Stormlit. I'm like I don't recall too much times ever healing on the global cooldown. I was always off the global cooldown healing because the fairy would take care of it. It's like all right, we're good. Damage. Now it's like. Okay, heal. There's a mental strategy to shift into a damage mode. It's like, okay, are we shielded? Are we this? How's it we doing? Okay, then I can go in, and the damage rotation is not.
I mean, it's not. It's just.
I've actually heard a lot of people who consider Dark Knight to be the old squishiest guy. Dark Knights are holding their own really well now, like not having to be healed almost at all in certain content.
Yeah.
I mean, Dark Missionary in and of itself is going to be very important in raids at some point. We know it. We know it's going to be. That buff is going to be great.
I tried to heal the shadow. I was like, there's shadows in the thing. It's like I didn't know it was the shadow. I just kind of looked. I was like, the dark guy's standing in the bed. Like, oh, it's the shadow.
I'm glad you can't target them because someone would try and rescue one. I guarantee you. It'd be hilarious. Is that your motion?
I do want to praise the tank AoE combo. It feels a little bit more valuable. It feels like I'm
totally. I like using. I feel
an AoE
useful there.
Yeah.
I mean they look like fun. Like not only are they're 3-button combos, but they're fun. They're flashy. They're good. I like them.
It's like they tested it out with Samurai and then just gave it to everybody because it was good. I mean, I love AoE comboing as Samurai in 4.0, and I love that I have that now with my tanks.
Yeah, I mean, Dragoon got a new a third action onto their line combo, and it's great. Korth and Torment. It's got a great name.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Holy crap. Oh, just in the first couple of dungeons when you're just spamming it, like hitting four different AoE buttons, and they're all going off, and you don't have to stop. It's so amazing.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
As a controller player, I am loving Shadowbringers. 4.4 was a nightmare. It's like, do you have room for 5 more skills? No. Well, too bad.
Here you go.
You don't need them.
About AoE, like Summoner, oh my goodness, it's so perfect in AoE. It's so much fun. If you get into a giant dungeon pack and you see Phoenix is up, oh my goodness, it's great. It's like holy spam for white mages when they knew that someone was gonna like mana shift them. Oh my goodness, it's amazing. I just love it.
I thought the game was broken for like 5 minutes before I read a tooltip. What is it? Quick Knock has a 30% chance to proc Reign of Death.
Yeah, like all these fun AoE.
I'm like, how is this coming back up? I'm not on Mage's Ballad. What is going? Oh, hello.
They understand that people just do giant pulls.
So amazing.
Yeah.
They understand the need for AoEs now.
Good.
Yeah.
So good.
Especially in a Fate, like when you just see all that XP, just like.
Yep. Two words, abyssal drain.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm dying in a Fate. Abyssal drain. Oh, the freaking green line of like, oh, I just healed to full. Thanks.
That's my favorite thing.
Mobs that for that
put on like
out healing healer.
Were you gonna say fusion?
Oh,
I said that's one of my favorite
I got
things.
this.
Yeah.
Hold my beer.
Go into a dungeon or a Fate or something. It's like, oh, my health is a little low. I'll drop Bloodbath and then do my line combo, and it's just like a list of green numbers on my screen. It's great. It's great.
Yep. But yeah, I that's why I gave it a 4. Like, there's so much good, but there's still some clunkiness in places. You know, that they'll work out at some point. But.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair.
I feel like I can't get to all my buttons anymore. Like I have less things to hit, but I can't reach them all. I actually, for the first time since 2.0, I think I need to reorganize my buttons.
Right.
And this sucks so bad.
I did that. I made some massive changes to my hopper now, and
my hopper is so different.
My thing that keeps driving me nuts now is instead of hitting dive, I'll hit my gears early. And then I'll hit dive, and I'll be like, well, now I have to wait another 30 seconds before I can start that up again. It's like, and I keep doing it, and I'm like, it's either I need to get used to it or I need to move it somewhere else, because it's just not you have that minute where you hit an action and you just go, I'm dumb.
Since he's talking about dives, I did get Dancer up to 80, and I love those dashes.
Nice.
I love the hell out of those dashes. And when I play anything else, I'm like, timed in, nope, walk like a normal.
We had funny,
Doctor, I got 30 stacks of this.
Funny story. We were doing a Titania EX fight. Have you guys done EX?
Yeah.
Nope, not
Titania
yet.
I haven't yet. I'm
so
there's that today.
There's a part where there's stacks, but then 2 people get like AoE circles on them. And so you had to like, you're running around trying to stack, but then the other people have to spread out. And so, you know, we position ourselves in the stack, and this dancer out of nowhere just goes swing right on top of the stack and kills us all. Because they were trying to dodge across the room.
Oh no!
But in that same fight, the 2 tethers you have to take off that have like the things that shoot off of them at cardinals. Like, I dash to the edge of the arena, I wait till the thing shows up, and then I dash off in the diagonal, and I'm back where I was.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun ability. Yeah,
it's so good.
Anything else on battle before we move on?
I like that Fates have sort of made a reemergence.
Yeah,
they were really good in Heavens, where they were all right at the beginning of Stormblood, but there was better content, and I feel like you can actually make more progress as long as the Fates are firing and they're big groups.
The one thing I'll say about Fates, which kind of bums me out, but I get it. So I'm rank 3 Clusia, right? Because I'm crazy like that. I have yet to see that damn frog Fate yet.
Oh, really? You haven't seen
After
it?
spending that much time doing Fates in that zone, I've still yet to see it. It's popped a few times in different instances. But then it's part like expand, launch, right? It's those damn instant stones.
Oh man, Ixion? What instance is Ixion?
It's that. I mean, there were probably a dozen people in Yulmar trying to zone into Clusia, just back and forth trying to get into the one instance. It had it was like over 300 people.
So quality of life improvements really quick, just to take it.
So let's jump off from this real quick. Let's end battle scores from everybody, and we'll move on. 5, 5, 4.
I don't remember.
I
think it was 4.
Yeah,
4, 5 for me. So that gives us 23 out of 25 for battle. Quality of life.
Yes.
Okay, so something that I learned the other day is you can now change instances at the Aetheryte. You don't have to go to the zone line.
Yeah,
that's really great.
That's great.
You just teleport right to it.
If your party teleports in, it keeps you together.
Yes, that's good.
Join a party, it's not. You have to say like, hey, what instance are you in, etc. But if you teleport in with a party, it's like, oh, let's go to this
automatic
instance.
That was one of my favorite questions we asked
though.
Yoshida.
That hasn't worked.
It is 100%. I honestly would love to see if a party is not in the same, it'd be great if you use the party menu to say go to instance. It's like if they just gave you we can detect you're in the same zone.
Guild Wars 2-esque.
Yeah, I think the problem you're gonna run.
The
issue with that though, I mean, talking again about like the big fates, right, for final area and for Clusia, is if you give them that option, at some point the system has to be like, no more people can come in here. This is bad. Stop. You can't. So you can't do just like you get one person from each party on the whole server, and everyone just goes warp thing. You're gonna break everything real quick.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's gonna have to be a limit, but it could tell you.
Right.
They'll get rid of instances pretty soon anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is
they'll bring the instance back. Essentially, like if you look at the trajectory of the game, at some point, like the data center is just going to be the data center, and they'll instance the zones like they are now. But they're still technologically not there yet. So the instance zones will eventually come back, but ideally, like the improvements they made now, they'll work out some more bugs. So they're taking the long approach. I'm going to guess 2 years, could be 4.
So because of quality of life, the thing that I have to say is, and I am crazy. I love MMOs. I love rating in MMOs. I've played every AAA MMO that's come out, and I counted since Lich King from WoW. This is the smoothest launch I've ever seen in my life.
I know.
Yes.
It's like there was none that did it better. Like period. There's no one that I've ever seen.
I think I've thankfully had Mario Maker 2 as a backup, my backup plan, but literally I have not had
never
chance to touch it. And to your point, like this sets the bar. This is raised the bar. So that anybody who doesn't do it, it's like, come on.
Shadowbringers did it. Why can't you do it?
Exactly. and it sets the bar in such a way because you talk about the story, the narrative, just the smoothness. Like we were even getting DDoS during this, and it had a little bit of a hiccup, which
that was,
but it didn't
literally
take
the only hiccup for those first few days of early access. It was like day 2 for like maybe 40 minutes in the afternoon. I got booted from a DDoS, and that was it.
I've been using a program called like Exit Lag just because I've been using it to play Lost Ark. And so we got a 14 kind of thing, and I didn't get kicked at all, and I was still able to play. And a lot of people are like, "How are you still playing?" It's like, well, I don't know if it has anything to do with the fact that I'm using this program, but
it's those VPNs. They sometimes can get around it because you're going from a different.
I'm going direct. I'm not hit. Like it's like nope. It's tunneling, VPN tunneling. So anyway, I was just like, but even while that was happening, the quest took a little bit longer to load. But I was still able to continue to keep playing. Which
really, the sacrifice is usually ping. Yeah.
There was the one worldwide sort of everybody getting kicked off of NA and stuff, and people are like, oh, this is bad. Oh, the queues are bad. I'm like, do you remember people lining up?
Yeah.
Do you remember the lines? It's not that bad. It's like it's one day. It hasn't happened.
One instance of failure. One. That's unheard of.
I saw one guy raging on Twitter because of the DDoS. He's like, I should be able to log right in. Like I'm a paying customer.
And I'm like, summer child.
Shut up. Right. Yeah. It's just like it's crazy. This has been the smoothest launch. And it was
smooth.
It's
So
technology,
good.
but it's quality of life too, because you want to give people the expansion
We're
experience.
excited to
And
be
they did.
there.
Right.
Yeah.
They did.
I'm
They made-
100% on board that there's nothing wrong with the emotion of being frustrated by
Sure.
when the crap happens.
Sure.
But it's that in hindsight, like in launch over launch over launch, you're like, I was saying this, and it's that the same thing about FanFest. Every FanFest, I think this last one was just run perfectly. But it's that they had a different issue. The thing that I always kind of judge it on is that they run into the same problem. And no, they have
fair,
not.
yeah.
It was a different
they
issue.
learned.
Time,
Mhm.
and they learn, and then they adjust, and then they fix it. And it's that if Shadowbringers had the same problems that Stormblood had, that would be really frustrating.
Yes.
But if Shadowbringers has a problem and it's nothing that they've seen before, then it's okay. Like I get you can't see the future. You're not a real life astrologian. We're cool. Let's move on. You know, it's
Right.
like
one of the
move.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things I saw people complaining about is that they felt the beginning of the story was slow to start. And
I don't think you
so,
find
so what
anything
that
for like 3 hours.
well what happens without really spoiling too much, right? They give you a fork. They give you options of where to go first.
Mhm.
And they do that so that you don't run into Robon EX again.
Exactly.
And we didn't.
Yep.
Like it would, and that's, you know, if it feels a little slow because of that, I'm more than fine with
More
that.
than fine with
Well,
that.
I
than
want to
having
do an
hard stop. Yeah.
informal poll. So there's two ways to go, right?
Yeah.
One of them is a desert. The other one is slightly less of a desert, but there's two characters.
The moral desert.
Yeah.
Right? There's two characters. So desert or not desert, basically, is how you can say it.
Yeah.
Which one did you go to? Because I think we all went to the same one just because of the character.
Desert.
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 I went to the moral desert.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
I will
okay,
tell
there's
you
one.
why.
Uh-huh.
My national loyalty
Oh, sure. Okay, that makes sense.
and also saving the best for last.
Okay. Yeah, you don't want to have dessert.
I love
I
these-
kind of
I love
wish
these
I
desert
had
and
done
non-desert
Moral Desert.
relationships, though. Go ahead. Sorry, Avalon. Sorry.
I kind of wish I had done Moral Desert. You know, I would have liked a little more time before Desert, but
Oh, sure. It was bracing, right?
bracing's a good
Yeah.
word for it.
Oh my goodness, I had to. That story.
It was interesting though too. And I'm sure you guys all noticed this too later on. It talks about like your journey to X and Y, but like regardless of what order you did it in, it just says like the one other one. It's like, okay, so it maybe wasn't planned that way originally, and then they're just like, yeah, maybe we should just fork it because
Yeah.
reasons.
Given the choice, yeah.
my biggest quality of life
Mhm.
change, which is also sharing with audio a little bit. Did you guys hear about this? Do you know about this yet?
Oh yeah.
You can change the output audio
yes,
while the
without-
game is running now, and it will
without it
not
crashing.
crash.
Wow, I didn't even know.
It only
that.
took
Yeah,
them
yeah,
6
oh, nice.
years.
Sound guy came through. Yeah.
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 Yay.
Well, and it's funny because you can do it in 11, and I was always like, all right.
I mean, you could do it in literally every other PC game. Like
Yeah.
it just for whatever reason, and I
It's
think
so
I think
frustrating.
Soken was talking about like because it was the sound engine they use or something.
Yeah.
Something changed.
Mhm.
They finally did something, and now it works, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's
So
amazing.
great.
Yeah.
I like stabbing technical debt in the heart.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and that's one of the things that I was so critical of the game, like and Stormblood was the technical debt problem. It's
Yeah.
like they have so
Mhm.
much technical debt, and it's starting to show. And I think it's pretty cool because like if they bring the change to Fates into 4.0, 3.0, like that's a love letter because the technical debt there is actually pretty
Yeah,
huge.
it's-
Like
it's
to go and take
crazy,
some of
yeah.
these things and bring it backwards, it is a very costly.
Mhm.
And it just shows just like the fact that you can wear glasses on a Ronso or VR right now, like that's that shows the love and the team
Yeah.
has. But
Those
Yeah, didn't they,
you have a
didn't they do
technical
that
debt.
like on their off time?
Yeah, that's
They
it.
did that on their
Individual.
That's
Yeah.
why that's why this
Amazing.
theme is like when it comes down to it, I think that's one of the things that people are recognizing that Square Enix and Final Fantasy 14 is doing so right. Outside of the things that we love, but it's that they are listening. And beyond that, just like understanding that, like they try to go above and beyond. Like their sole purpose is just doing that. We talked about like the whole leaks in the interview when we did our last podcast, but it's so important like that is the gift we give them is our surprise and our shock and our being excited. And honestly,
Totally,
like
yeah.
hopefully we can have a good quiet 2 years.
Yeah, let's have a quiet 2 years. Yeah. It's just it's amazing to see it and to see where 14 has come, and WoW is still there, but I think you'd be yes, exactly. I think you'd be very hard pressed to find someone who has come over from WoW and then went back and then stayed. I think you'd be very hard pressed.
We have a friend who did that.
Yeah, but to visit, I don't know. I don't know if it's full time or not. I don't know. I would be surprised just because of I've played 8.2. I still play WoW.
Yeah, Chris does. He's still playing it right now, and he's just like, oh god, 14's so much better.
Not after this expansion right now.
Yeah.
I can't.
I think in terms of quality of life, one of my other favorite things is the way that they changed up the retainer menus.
That was the next thing I was going to say.
It's so fast.
Yeah,
I haven't adjusted yet to it.
They show all the information now. They show what job the retainer is, what level it's at, how much skill it has on it.
Out on adventure.
All the information is on the main screen, and you don't have to click on the bell again after you exit the one retainer. It just goes to the
bell.
It's so good.
I haven't adjusted it.
Me up.
It is. It trips me up because it's so fast. It's not just the retainer menu. Like everything in this game is so much more responsive and it feels better. But I've been used to. I'm mentally trained to do it. So I end up finding myself like, bloop, bloop, bloop. Okay, slow down, Brian. I need to slow down because the extra
right.
It's amazing because MMOs immediately looking at them to someone who's never played an MMO. Like I was thinking about this at E3 because trying to do Titania, which now just not with people who've not played it. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
There's just too many things.
Mm-hmm.
But they're continually making it easier and easier to play through the UI, and I love it. It's great.
Yeah. One of the things I like to, I actually just did this now that I've got my first 80 right. I'm just kind of like sprinkling time on of whatever else I feel like, and so I spent a little bit of time on Miner this morning, and I unlocked the Crystarium turn-ins.
Yes.
With it, it's not. It's kind of like special delivery, but it's a little different. The screen to turn in items is so good because you can turn in multiple items at once. Yeah. And it's so nice. It's so nice.
You don't want to go to Idleshire and Mordota?
Yeah. The XP is insanity, though. It's like people are capping like them in a couple hours just from those turn-ins and the leaves.
Yeah, that's what I was about hearing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just mention really quickly?
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of in all of the areas. If you do, and I'm sorry to say, the main story quest roulette, at 79, you get 20 million experience points.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Out of the 37 or something?
Out of the 37 you need. That's like a good chunk of the level.
Wow. So save that one.
For an hour of your time?
Yeah, for an hour.
If you get Meridianum, I found Meridianum was actually shorter than Praetorium.
Yeah. I was going to mention this. So things do hit harder in older stuff, but we murder things. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed how much we murder things when we go back? Like the first roulette that I got that was, I don't even remember what. I was like, I forget what it was, Sorkai or something. We get to the first group and I'm like, okay, cool, do that. They're dead. Okay. All right, I guess we're moving on.
I had that with I did
evaporated.
I got Anti-Tower when I was on my Dancer.
Yeah.
And I'm just running through. I think we had like a Samurai, and so Dan's partnered the Samurai, he's doing his AoEs, I'm doing my AoEs, just go into a group. 10 seconds later, they're all dead. It was amazing. It was amazing.
The one thing I would say, like for me, my favorite quality of life adjustment is the dialogue options quality of life. That subtle.
That was a great. Yeah.
It is so. It keeps me immersed. It doesn't feel like pop-ups are suck. They suck.
Sure.
Pop-ups are suck. But it's like
that's correct, Rimmer. For this.
Yes.
And so it's down there in the bottom, and it just I love it so much. It's such
wonderful.
A subtle thing, it just keeps me like it. Honestly, I love that. Yeah, like I know we're gonna get to the same destination, but I felt more involved in how I chose to respond to things, and also because of that UI, it wasn't this like. Click accept, it's like no.
I definitely had a bunch of. Oh, go ahead.
What was that?
No, I could talk about that on its own for 2 hours, and I'm kind of like, I wanted to finish MSQ before doing my UI videos for UI review for Shadowbringers, and like that's one of the big ones. It's just how cinematic they've adapted the UI.
It was one of those things where you're going through the patch notes. It's like we changed this thing, and you're like, okay, weird. Yeah. But then you get into it, and
you're like, "Oh my god, this makes so much sense."
The first time it comes up,
these
right? And the first time it comes up, you're like, oh right, they changed this. Okay,
I like,
and then
I
you
like
get into
being
more.
given
And
something I didn't know I wanted and actually liking it.
Right.
Mhm.
It's like,
That's the best surprise and delight. That's the best.
Yeah.
yeah, one of the things too. I mean, I guess it's technically a story, right? But without spoiling anything, I love that this game knows what it is.
yeah.
Yes.
In some of these dialogue options,
Oh man.
or you know that opening Crystarium cutscene where it's like, yeah, and we have these things over here, and your character's just like, no, not again.
No.
Like
Not
it's just
again.
the way that they play on that. It's right up against that fourth wall.
Yeah.
It's like right there, and it's so
I wonder what
good.
we're talking about.
Yeah. With a certain NPC that may be a blocker to the main story quest. I think
Yes.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
As soon as I saw that person, I went, "Oh no, they're here!" And then your character does the same thing, and I'm like, "Yes,
Yes.
oh, man.
It's very aware of it, the grind, right? That's what it
Yeah.
is. It's a lot of times when it's like the story is like acknowledging like, hey, there's gonna be a grind, and then
Yeah.
your character's just like, oh, son of a like,
gotta deal with that."
or or you'll get like a dialogue option. It's like, will you help us? And you're like, I don't really have a choice anyway, do I?
I
You
would.
know, it's
Yeah,
just-
yeah.
it's so good.
They do it in such a like props to the teams that take care of like localization and scripting and
Yes.
stuff, because like it's so easy to cross the line into this is fucking cheesy.
Yes,
But
exactly.
like
right.
but they don't. It's like they do just enough of it to be like, this is funny, you get a good laugh out of it. And
Yeah.
that's what, and it's so cliche to say, and to hear them say it, they're like, oh, we just want people to have fun with the game. Like this is what it's like to have fun with the game and really respect the content and everything. Like
Yeah.
every little bit puts a smile on your face, evokes emotion,
Mhm.
and you don't feel like you're being pulled out of the moment. And
There's it's there enough, and I think it's I don't know if consistent is the right word, but it's spread out enough that like it flows with everything else, and it's great. Like you'll be doing some serious cutscenes. It's like, oh, you unlocked hunts, and then you go to talk to an NPC, and they're like, go collect nut sacks, and you're like,
Yeah.
localization.
Oh
Like,
my god.
totally got all of this.
My intermittent
Charles.
cooler is
Yeah.
just,
Charles.
I love
Oh, all right, fine.
yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
In my Discord right now, many of us have changed our names. My name currently is Zanutra. He is Aldionut.
Yes, Aldia Nut.
Nice. Oh my gosh.
That's actually
so yeah.
a tactics reference, though. Clan Nuts.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Clan Nutsy.
yeah,
I
it
love
is.
it.
I love the tactics. Oh
So,
man.
I'm
if
repping
you
it right
don't know
now.
about that,
It's
yeah,
very.
if you don't know about that, it comes across like, what the crap? Where did that come from? But
Paladin
One
Dark
nut,
though,
two
having the tactics abilities brought in was
Yes.
such a
Mhm.
good piece to
Mhm.
resist. Just thank you very much.
Yes,
They sprinkle that
was
in
exactly
everywhere.
Yes.
So good.
Yeah, like Gunbreaker. Gunbreaker has some of the attacks from 8. One of the animations uses like the draw ability. Like it's just little things here and there. Like they
Tiny
really.
little
I mean,
things.
even the new Dragoon combo line. It's Korth and Torment because Korthus. Like
It's so nice.
It's real. It's oh man.
going back to the little option
Well,
picking
yeah.
dialogue box,
Uh-huh.
the new one. I found myself a couple of times wondering if no matter what you picked, you would get the same thing, because the reaction of the character that
yes.
and replies
So-
to you kind of
so
fits everything. But I
me-
actually talked to people a number of times, and most of them are different.
Yeah, they're
They
different.
actually took
Not
the time
always,
and,
though.
and go through, and there are different reactions, and I think that's
Yeah.
great.
For the first day, me and my wife, we get gamer nerd family, right? We had like 2 giant TVs next to each other in the living room. So we're sitting on the couch playing Shadowbringers. We have like GDQ on a little TV that's tilted on the floor. And so like we would get a dialogue choice, right? And I'll be like, all right, I'm picking this one. She'd pick the other one, just so we could see
Get to
right
see.
there. And
Yeah.
a lot of times it was the same, I felt like, but every
Sure.
so often
Same,
you'd
yeah.
get a little mix, and I get it, right? That's a lot of dialogue
Yeah,
to
yeah.
write and come up with. But yeah,
3
so
different
it was-
choices every time would be crazy. But the fact that it's different at all, I really appreciate.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
one in particular that, of course, can't spoil, but you're talking to your constant companion. Let's just call them that. And you're kind of sharing stories. And there's 3 options, and each one is voiced differently. completely.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that until someone posted, "Hey, I said this to them, and we talked about this," and I was like, "Holy crap, that's awesome! I didn't know that you could say something different and actually get it."
Maybe they just everybody they when they made it they assumed everybody would pick that one, and so they voiced that one, or
I don't know. I didn't pick that one. Like I was like, I don't. That's kind of I don't know. It wasn't within the character that I'm playing because everybody role plays through. Even if you don't role play, you pick the option that your character would say, and that's not what I would have said. So I wouldn't have.
I gave my NPCs so much crap when given the opportunity. There's one thing too. I got to point. Did anybody else notice how much of a hypocrite Yashola was?
Just in general, yeah.
there was a particular line.
Oh,
right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, like they told us like where to go and they didn't walk us there. Like that's not nice or something. And I'm like,
yeah. Is it not?
It reminds me of another scene earlier on.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not fun.
Too close to spoilers. I don't want to say anymore.
Yeah, of course, but
yeah, it's like I started talking. I'm like, should stop. But yeah, it's just there's so many like. Quality of life just across the board, it's done so well. I mean the UI is really nice. The way that how they kept it. I know me and Avalonstar talked about this at E3 because I hadn't seen his UI video yet, but if you look at your party menu now with now that MP is capped at 10,000, the way that it's displayed makes it look like it's 100 with like a percentage. Like it's little things like that that just shows how well they've just smoothed everything over across the board with this game.
Yeah, and that's really a point that you get to after like the technical debt has subsided a bit. That's why like they're starting to work into that, and they're starting to have fun with it. They're starting to notice these little things that they couldn't work on before because it was either too hard or too.
There's a lot of like
there's a lot of and I love seeing them. That they not only have fun with the story, but they're having fun. Like the UI team is having fun improving the game, and that's such a good place to be in because that sets up so many more changes going forward. Like now they can surprise us rather than being like, I'd like more inventory. Oh, there's an awkward change there. Oh, okay. They don't have to be awkward about these changes anymore because it's like this is stuff we've been waiting for forever. They can surprise us with like, oh, hey, we'll tell you where the altitude of the quest is now, or we'll give you a new crafting window.
Surprisingly helpful.
Like,
The biggest thing though, like on that technical debt side of it, that is still like when I look at this game and how good Shadowbringers is and how much I love it, I go, holy crap, they have to do something with the game that came before it, because it's so weird to be like, hey, there's all this amazing stuff after 4 games, like as opposed to like with the trust, like that would be so needed in 2.0 and so needed in 3.0 and so, like it's like to where it's like, oh, you want to have this kind of experience, well, you're gonna have a really different experience until you can finally get to this this paradise. And I don't know what the kind of work is and what the value and whether it makes any kind of financial or business sense, or if they think that players would even want that. I just kind of look at them like, where do we go from here?
Yeah, it's really tough.
Brian's so excited.
It's really tough because like they have to balance like new content with being able to improve things. And when I was doing a review of all the changes we got in Stormblood, it's like the game is a time capsule. Like you look back at. They don't change like the stack markers in binding coils. Like they don't change them. So you can go back and see what they were. Like it was really interesting for like me because I joined in Heavensward. And so, my wife and I took a crew into we did coils synced. And we're like, wait, we have to stack for that? Why does this look this like what I'm used to? But because we're going backwards. So you're doing old content and you're seeing all this stuff. Yeah, it'd be great if they did update it, but at the same time, it's like you get to see how they improved over time.
I mean, that was
so
we
it's
talked
really
about
weird dichotomy. It's like I wouldn't want to see them change it because it's like that's how you see how they learned over time, how they learned to make the UI consistent.
I could see it. Yeah,
I wonder if they'll do then a sequel. Like it's like at some point, like the game gets so big that they either have to do. There's something that will have to happen, and I don't know if it's like what Gamers was talking about, where like this is the evening, you have the you have a four parts. Like who knows? Like I'm just saying, like I am really excited to see what the next 2 years holds. I'm really excited to see what how they move with the game. At some point, like the game's gonna be 10 years old. And then it's
Yeah.
like, well, like in 15 years, in 20 years, like what's they don't want to run the risk of running into a Final Fantasy 11 thing where it's like, well, heck,
there
like
are so
stuck,
few
unless you
yeah. There's so few examples of successful MMOs actually making a sequel. Like, what is it, 4? Maybe, probably 3. I don't even know. But I can tell you this, because of this expansion, I don't care what the next one is. I'll be playing it. Like it's just so good. They hit their stride. For me, this is the Wrath of the Lich King moment for
this is
14.
We are in like the golden age of 14.
Yeah,
the when everyone's like, I used to play back then. This is that back then. Enjoy it.
Yeah, and you know, looking back at Stormblood, I think that's what disappointed me so much. You know, coming from an 11 background, it's we hit that technically third expansion. Right, Xylar doesn't really count, right? Yeah. But you know, like Ottergon was like that was it for 11, and we get Stormblood, which is kind of like that timing for 14, and it's kind of like, you know, it was all right. Yeah, it wasn't great.
I don't know, like Ottergon, I really liked the beginning, and then it kind of went, and we ran out of time, and it's I don't know, crumple it, throw it in a corner.
Sure.
Like for me, like for a lot of WoW players, that Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, it's the golden age, and I think that this is the golden age of 14, like starting, and it just started. So, oh man,
that's I mean, I for one liked the story of Stormblood, but I think it's also like another one of my community members, Disco Kitty over there, says, you know, when we were starting to figure out what the story in Shadowbringers was, she said like, this is the story they wanted to tell.
Right,
they're no longer strapped to now they can have fun with the lore, and they're no longer strapped to the fact that we had to liberate Alamigo someday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like we had no idea
it was necessary, but it wasn't enjoyable.
We were all thinking, oh, okay, well, we're doing the Garlean Empire next, but then they send us to, then we get, you know, we throw wide the gates all of a sudden. They can have fun. They can have fun with this now, and it really makes sense. Like, especially, you know, I haven't completed the game yet, but just what, you know, they were saying, like, we want to give you guys a single player RPG experience at level, and now I get what they mean by that. And it's like, they don't need a sequel. They can just keep creating these single player experience, like these awesome. People are comparing it, you know, the expansion on its own as in two individual Final Fantasies. Like, what does that say? Like, they're creating amazing experiences that's kind of changing the paradigm of what we see the stories, you know, as. So, you know,
to be clear, what I mean by quote unquote sequel is that starting off point that people are able to get on, where right now, imagine 6.0, 7.0, 8.0, where it's like, hey, by the way, like you have to go play through, think of each of them as a 40-player RPG, 7, or you have to jump. And I don't like that, or you have to jump.
Fair. I mean, yeah.
It's that, and then otherwise, like the only other option is to actually go back and retrofit ARR, Heaven's Word, Stormblood to be able to bring in some of that. And then, so from a technical engineer in me, I go, what's the right formula?
What's the right way to go?
Invest in this code in which that we didn't know there was ever going to be a Heaven's Word. They never knew. Like 2.0 was it was an apology. You never know. And so when we talk about, like Yoshi P said that in 4.4 they went in and redid how Chocobo companions work, and that took a lot of work. And it's not something we've seen yet. So I'm wondering if at some point they're gonna, hey, now we can do this with the Chocobo companion system. Yeah. But literally, it's like, what's the right thing to do? Because at some point the game will be, you know, like, and I don't know the right answer. I'm just saying, like, I'm so interested to see, because it's such a complex problem. The game
there's some,
if they do what you just said, if single player RPG amazing, at some point it becomes really hard to onboard people.
Sure. Yeah.
Fair. And I think a good example of that, actually, we were talking about this before the cast, a good example of that is what Bungie's doing.
Sure.
You know, I there's a part of me that really wishes Destiny 1 was always that, like, they were able to keep 1 and 2 together, and that they were able to merge the experiences, because they talk about so much lore in the first game and this, you know, in E2, that it's like, oh, well, if you didn't play, and they had the Grimoire cards and all these other mechanics that were really weird to work with. But now, like, they're like, okay, if you want the story, that's a paid upgrade. It's fine. But if you want to play the base game, it's cool. So, like, people are trying. People are, we're getting into the span of, like, where we're having 10-year games. Yeah. And people are trying to figure out that exact problem. So exactly thinking it that way, I think eventually, like, we're gonna have the number crunch, of course, but we're also gonna run into that problem, Brian, with the you know, how are we gonna onboard people and not steal $25 from them every single time, you know? people to
Right.
to
Well,
onboard them, right?
My concern was always like, because like if they did another calamity, which it's just the reality of that is overwhelming and development. But if they did to say like, well, that failed, and now the new starting point's here, like, do you deny somebody the ability to play through ARR and Heaven's Word and Stormblood and Shadowbringers, like because that they hit a new starting point, or do they say, okay, here's the calamity, and guess what? Now it's either 14-2 or 17 or whatever ends up being insane about it, where it's a starting point for everybody to pick up, and if they want to, they can experience this whole saga that led into this whole saga. And I don't know what the right. I'm not saying
that's really the big question right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at how 11's gone, and they've had this conversation many times with 11, where you'll ask the developers like, this is an MMO. It will not last forever.
Yeah.
What happens when you get to that point? Because it's still a main series entry. You want to be able to tell that story. What do you do?
Yeah.
And at some point we're gonna reach that. I mean, we already have it with 1.0. Right. And that's just, I think it was Easy Allies asked about legacy servers, and Yoshida's just like, nightmare was his response. But I think right now, I mean, given the infrastructure right now, it's running, it's working. I don't think that they would ever necessarily take that away.
Yeah.
But
as long as it's making money and it's not costing money, then what?
Right. At some point, though, I think within the next couple of expansions, I think we are going to hit that kind of limit of what this engine is capable of. I mean, Yoshida in his Famitsu columns from a couple years ago, he's already talked about how their graphics pipeline is like 2 generations behind.
Yep.
And so, they kind of cheat, right? And the way that they do stuff now, it makes it maybe look a little bit better than it actually is. But I mean, we've talked on here a few times. You get a close up shot of Xenos, and his armor is all pixelated and it looks terrible.
Yeah.
I think, of course, you look at that on the other side, 11 is still going, and that's PS2, early PS2.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. I think on the back end of that, we're going to start seeing these technical limitations. They're still doing a really great job with what they have. I'm not saying we're there yet, but I think future wise, in the next couple of expansions, we'll probably see that point where there's something that they want to do that maybe they can't quite get it to where they want it because of the limitations from their engine.
Yeah. The thought that comes to my mind, because the story is so good, and because I have so many friends who are into Final Fantasy but they don't like MMOs. Where it always goes when people are like, I want to play that MMO but single player. And I mean, frankly, I feel that the story of 14 deserves a single player remake, if anything ever got it. Like 11, I agree with. I never got super into it. 14, however, if they ever wanted to do it, I would throw my money right at it. Like, oh my goodness, it would be amazing. I don't know how they would do it, but it deserves.
I mean, I would go with the classic turn-based Final Fantasy. Like, I would like go and just like say, hey, here it is.
Sure.
Enjoy.
It's
but
like,
they're already kind of doing that with the trust. Like,
with the trust system.
If they bring in trust, if they bring in this experience, you could ideally play through the story and not necessarily have to interact with other individuals.
Really, it comes back to the downside being where they're adding a lot of really great stuff right now, but all this stuff is 5.0 onwards. It's not 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. It's you got to be in there a little bit, and so that's where that issue is going to come.
I'm loving what they're doing. I'm loving what they're doing, and I don't envy them the work and the decisions and whatever's coming. Like, but this tells me though, this was that, like I said, was that love letter. It was it was a gift to the community who has loved the game for as long, or if they're new. Like whether you're like first time into 14 because of this expansion, or if you've been around, since the crazy heydays of 1.0, like it hit every note for me.
Yeah.
Wow. Anything else for this review?
I have one question I would like to pose to everybody.
Sure. Okay.
I don't feel this way, but I had it presented to me that the storyline was too much of a movie and somebody wanted to fight more things.
I've heard that.
I haven't.
I would say this is a Final Fantasy game.
This is a Final Fantasy games are all about. I would always say they've always been my visual storybook. Like I didn't write books, I played Final Fantasy games.
Right.
I still feel like every 2 levels you have a dungeon. You had some trials. I think it was fine.
The story I think
think
is meant to be that.
Mhm.
Like, but then
Yeah.
outside of that, like then you have you're playing Shadowbringers is a single player Final Fantasy game and an MMO. Like it exists within that, which is something that means that as soon as you're done with the story, you've got so much more that you can do. It's so much more like
I would agree with that. I mean, the final MSQ dungeon specifically is really cinematic.
Yes.
And they knocked it out of the park.
It was
on-
so
on a
Final
lot of
Fantasy.
these
It's
set
like it
pieces.
really
Yeah.
but this is a Final Fantasy
Right.
thing.
I think
like,
previous expansions actually did have more fetch quests and more go fight this guy really quick. And I personally like the balance of this one
Yeah.
much
I
more.
do.
It was the tighter
They essentially cut out the bullshit.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's,
they
it's, just,
100%.
it's a much smoother everything. It
But
really
that speaks to the narrative drive of the characters and
Yeah.
everything like that. It was like we were on a mission. We have like
Mhm.
where in Stormblood it's like we're here and then we got to go over here for a little bit and okay now we're coming back. It was like it felt a little divided even in the patch cycle where it's like
Yeah.
okay this is the patch where we're over in Almingo. Here's
Yeah,
our-
yeah,
our-
Yeah.
You know?
It
But,
touches
go ahead.
everything but the single player instances, those battles are the best that we've ever had.
Mhm.
Really,
Yeah.
they're just so cinematic.
They
You're
were
still
built for
fighting.
Game Plus.
Yes,
I love
they
the one in the
definitely-
desert.
Oh, they're so good, and I think that to me gets rid of that feeling because you can feel like you're watching a movie. There's some games that just don't get it right, and you feel like you're watching a movie. But I don't agree with that. Definitely, just
I've always hated the little fetch quests in between. That's the sort of thing that
Yeah.
makes you skip cutscenes.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
They just you get fatigued and you don't want to do it
It's
anymore.
like, I'm tired. Let's just go.
Yeah.
The only thing I think, if I was going to be critical, because I gave 5s to every category for this.
Mhm.
I just think that they knocked it out of the park. Where they did not, where they struggled, where the
Mhm.
Shadowbringers, and I'm categorizing it, is that when it came into how some of the information was provided to the community over the course of the fan fests, where I think they leaned into showmanship over just giving us the information, as opposed to where Male Vieira's coming. There's a lot of people who, whether they were right or wrong,
Sure.
felt really hurt by the fact that they didn't get Male Vieira. That could have been easily tempered
Yeah.
by the way, female only. We have another race. It's just like where they leaned into showmanship, which I'm not fault. When you go look at over the last since it was announced to now, I felt there was a lot of drama within the community over this expansion before anybody had.
Well, I mean, we even had it on here. I mean, and that was the thing, right? After Paris, they announced Vieira, and then people are like, "What about Male Vieira, Yoshida?" And he goes, "Well, we still have one more fan fest." And I'm like, "You wouldn't announce it there. Like, what are you doing?" Like,
Don't say that. Yeah.
Right.
I think that they maybe they felt that the product was just gonna allay all those fears, and I mean, I'm not hearing much complaining right now. I mean, it's early days after
Hold
the
on,
expansion.
this chocolate cake's gonna be real good. Just wait.
Yeah, and maybe that was part of it, or maybe I don't know. It was just they didn't know how it was going to go, and maybe hopefully they'll learn from it. We were just talking about them learning. Yeah,
I'm not worried about the next one. Go ahead.
I'm not worried about that either. They're really good at recovering from that stuff.
Yeah, I don't even understand how they're so good at it. Really, it's a marvel in like this day and age with the games that are coming out right now, like all the AAAs that run into problems, to find a studio that can consistently do that community, social media, that sort of thing, and come back from failures. It's so rare.
I mean, that's this game in a nutshell. It's a game that comes back from failures.
Yeah.
And it's and it sets the tone. Like the thing that actually Shadowbringers does for me is it gives me hope in 16. And a lot of that plays into what, like you said, Charles, like when you went hands-on with 7 at E3, like the combat system, like somebody, like we were talking with the comic historian about it, and he's like, he went hands-on. He's like, set like the combat there feels like, man, I wish they gave 15 a little bit more time.
Right.
It's
I felt the same way. I got hands-on as well.
Absolutely.
And it felt like the perfect balance.
Yeah.
And
it felt like it shouldn't have been as good as it was.
Yeah.
Almost, right?
Yeah, it's like I'm like, what? I'm looking forward to this. I
thought I was gonna hate it.
I really want to play this. Like,
right, I was in the same boat. I'm like, they are going to ruin 7, or it's going to be amazing. Like it's, and so when you said that, I was like, awesome. That makes me excited.
Yeah.
But that also makes me excited for 16, because one of the things a lot of people were like, oh, maybe they didn't like 15. I thought 15 needed more time, and it's like they couldn't give it to it because they already based it off of a canceled game, and so it automatically said 10 years, and it's like we have to get this out. That all happened during the 1.0 to 2.0 failure. Like a lot of this was going on at the same time. So when Yoshi P has effectively changed a lot of the culture at Square Enix, I think we're going to start to see that pay off outside of 14, but as Final Fantasy as a franchise as a whole.
I mean, he's director level, right? Like, I remember like him getting,
he's on the Final Fantasy Council now.
Right before A Realm Reborn went live. I remember going to the ARR media tour, and he handed me his new business card where he was now an executive, business executive at Square Enix, and it's like, oh, you got a promotion, okay.
And recently, there's now a council, so there's like Nomura and he and a couple other. Names who are like the final proving of every Final Fantasy related title now, and that's amazing. Because for me, I think that a lot of people would say this, but I liked 15.
I liked it too.
I loved it. It's one of my.
Shadowbringers is better.
Shadowbringers is the better Final Fantasy.
I turn.
I can't wait to share that opinion.
I know. And like, I turned to my girlfriend after I was done, and she's like, how was it? Because she wasn't done yet. And I said, and I quote, I think I said tactics, 4, 7, 15. Take it as you will. Shadowbringers specifically put 15 in my top 5, like, period, of Final Fantasies. Like, just because of this. And I don't know how they do better. I don't know. I'm
looking forward to it, because if this is the first one, then
it's crazy.
Yeah, they did it. Right. Knocked it out of the park. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah.
All right. Quality of life scores. 5, 5, 4.
I had a 4.
5, 4. Yeah, 4. I had a 5. That's gonna put us at 23 out of 25 for that, and final score for Shadowbringers is 92.
Woo!
Deserved.
That's a good score.
Yeah.
To put that slightly in perspective, even though it was different categories, I think our 4.5 patch hit was like 77 out of 100.
77 out of 100, probably.
We crapped on that dungeon hard.
It wasn't fun.
But yeah.
Who cried? We've been asked who cried.
I've shed so many tears. I haven't even finished it yet.
Yeah, definitely.
Multiple.
No more tears to give, but apparently I need to find a bucket.
Yeah, you are gonna need a whole bucket. Yeah. It's crazy. Oh man.
So there we go.
Best villain. All right.
I agree. 100%.
All right. Well, that's it. That was the show. We reviewed Shadowbringers. Before we close out here, Avalonstar, if you want to go ahead and plug all of your stuff, let people know where they can find you and what you are up to.
Hi, I do the social media thing. Primarily here, a streamer on Twitch, so twitch.tv/Avalonstar. Trying to get back into weekly streaming, but I've been doing my focuses are mainly, I'm an MMO streamer because Destiny admitted they're an MMO now. So I balance out 14 and Destiny too. I am on YouTube, youtube.com/Avalonstar. I focus mainly on UI changes, so look forward to my 5.0 UI review coming out soonish after I finish the MSQ. And I'm also on Twitter at Avalonstar on Twitter. So love to talk with you guys over there and everything. But yeah, thank you for having me. This was absolutely
for joining us.
Thanks for joining.
Yes.
If you want, you can contact the show on Twitter at Aetheryte Radio, or you can also hit us up at Gamerscape. Email aetheryteradio@gamerscape.com. Facebook at Gamerscape. You can also join our Discord server, discord.gg/Gamerscape. That's going to do it for our review of Shadowbringers. We hope you guys have been enjoying the expansion. We don't have a date yet for Spoilercast,
but it's
expansion.
Coming.
Yeah, it's coming. It is an expansion, so it's taken people a little longer to get through than a patch with 3 quests. So we're going to give that plenty of time. But I'm sure we'll be back here talking about hands-on and all sorts of stuff soon. So lots of stuff to do in the game right now. So thanks for everybody for joining us here on Twitch. Thank you to my co-hosts, and we'll see you here next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.